Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is August 10th. About this time every August, it suddenly occurs to me that I have a boatload of planting to do. Until this month, I've spent a great deal of time propagating as I garden, and my holding beds are positively overflowing right now. My holding beds are just empty places where I set potted plants. They're mostly shaded and offer plenty of water where the plants grow happily until I'm ready to deal with them. My inventory this year is full of my favorites. This spring, I bought 2 huge pots of different types of Tradescantia. They were so lush and so expensive that I took tons of cuttings right away. And now I have flats and flats of houseplants for the fall. They also make great gifts. And then there are the rescues, the discarded plants that I found on the side of the road or in the compost at the city yard waste site. How can a gardener walk away from orphaned plants? Even a lowly iris or a daylily lying there in total defeat captures my heart. It's just impossible for me to turn my back on them. And there's no way that I could ever leave a hosta behind. They're the green anchors of my garden. They fill in all the bare spots, and if I don't get them planted this fall, I know I can just bury them in mulch and uncover them next spring, when I'll be extra grateful to have them. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1861 that the poet Jean Kilby Rorison was born in Gilmorton in Leicestershire, England. Her family and friends called her Jenny. In the early 1900s, her family settled in the little village of Caulfield, Vancouver, where they built a summer cottage called Kilcare, a place where cares were laid down. Jenny wrote about it in a poem. She said, "Down Dogwood Lane, where the cedars meet, and soft is the fall of mortal feet, where tall firs grand, like sentinels stand, guarding the portals to fairyland." At 49 years old, Jenny married Douglas Rorison in Vancouver. Then, in 1927, at 65 years old, she wrote a slim book of poetry called In My Garden for the Rorison Press. Only 250 copies were ever printed. In it, she said, "I know if I traveled the whole world round, I should never find peace like the peace that is found in my garden. For here it is." Jenny died in North Vancouver at 79. And it was on this day in 1869 that the English poet Laurence Binyon was born in Lancaster, England. He won the Newdigate Poetry Prize at Oxford, worked at the British Museum, and wrote about Oriental prints and drawings. But he wrote about gardens as well. And in his poem, The Things That Grow, he wrote about a neglected garden that held him in awe. He said, "The power of a fading blossom or a springing shoot was greater than shipwrecking winds and all wild waters." And finally, it was on this day in 1962 that the American writer Suzanne Collins was born in Hartford, Connecticut. Her dad was an Air Force officer in Vietnam, and when he returned home, he told her all about the war because he wanted her to understand it. When Suzanne sat down decades later to write The Hunger Games about children fighting to survive, she made a world where knowing your plants was the difference between living or not. The main character is named Katniss, which is also the common name of a real plant called Sagittaria. Her younger sister was Primrose, and the little girl who died was named Rue, an old herb for both grace and regret. But for Katniss, the dandelion represented her time spent in the forest, studying nature with her father. And when she saw it, she suddenly knew she would make it. She said, "The first dandelion of the year, a bell went off in my head." It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Be Seated by Laurie Olin. Laurie Olin is a landscape architect, and this book starts with something he noticed in Paris when he was young. The people in parks and outside the cafes were doing nothing in particular, just enjoying each other's company. And that was possible due to all the chairs available to sit in, their placement. That notion stayed with him. And it turns out that public benches barely existed in the West until Florence in the 1400s. After that, they're everywhere. William Kent's bench at Rorison, the benches Olmsted and Vaux made for Central Park in a dozen different styles, and the long curving seat wall Gaudi wrapped around Park Güell. And Olin's loose chairs are scattered across Bryant Park, light enough to pick up and move. Chair movement is important to Laurie Olin because he noticed that a person walking toward a chair will nudge it first, an inch, maybe two. He called it an act of taking possession before sitting on it. This book is half sketchbook, filled with 50 years of impromptu ink and watercolor drawn in the field. Be Seated by Laurie Olin is for anyone who has ever moved a garden chair 2 inches and then sat down. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1908 that the Australian naturalist Frederica Lucy Sandilands was born in Boulder, a gold mining town in Western Australia. Her family and friends called her Rika. She was the oldest of 8, and her dad worked underground in the Great Boulder Mine. When her parents left to start a farm, she stayed behind with her grandmother, the town midwife, who taught her the ways of plants. She won a scholarship and trained as a teacher for a one-teacher school on the South Coast. When she realized there were no field guides for anything grown around her, Rika made them herself. She painted every flower with a sketchbook, a magnifying lens, and a small enamel paint box that held 3 reds, 3 yellows, 3 blues, a black, and an ivory. Later, a second-hand microscope helped her take the flowers apart to see how they worked. The countryside around Albany is where she found the orchids. She said, "What a botanist's paradise it is." But when she married in 1936, the education department made her retire. That was the rule. A woman who married had to stop teaching. So Rika created her own work and wrote letters instead, to botanists, to collectors, to anyone who would answer her. And then she waited weeks for the replies. She sent specimens out of her own paddocks while raising 4 kids and running a farm. And she did most of her botanical work at night. When she was 42, she published Orchids of the West, then a book on trigger plants, then Plants of Prey. She also led wildflower tours, and she said those were the best kind of holiday because she got the chance to teach again. Rika always said she wasn't any different from anybody else, just maybe a little more tenacious. For years, she wrote the history of the botanists who came to Western Australia before her. She knew them all as if they were her floral ancestors. And she wrote that the plants had taken their names. One was James Drummond, whose old house she walked past on her way to school. Rika launched her last book at 100 years old. She died the following year. But once, when she was in her 80s, someone asked her if she would like to live her life all over again. Rika said she might not be able to retrace her steps or to take the right step at the right time. And then she answered, "I'd say no." That was Rika Erickson, born on this day in 1908 in Boulder, Western Australia. She wrote 10 books, co-wrote 4, and edited 12 without a day of scientific training. 500 of her watercolors are in the Batty Library in Perth, and the Rika Erickson Nature Preserve became the first in the state ever named for a living person. Today's book was Be Seated by Laurie Olin. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.